And I'm Brad.
And this is
NFGeeks. Dorks.
Oh, NT Dorks.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, that's funny. Well,
Maybe someday.
That's funny you should say that because an SP started his own channel calling
Really?
Yes, and he calls it SP Spaz.
Oh.
Isn't that great?
I was
two
thinking
SPs
about
in it.
doing NT Dorks maybe someday, but I'm
NT
not
Dorks, sure.
I'm not really huge on the Myers-Briggs. I enjoy it, but it's not like my main focus.
Sure.
You know?
Well, you could inspire some other NT to do it, or it doesn't have to be about Myers-Briggs, whatever you want. All right. So, well, that was comical, Brad. So how about you wanted to talk about quirks of NTs and how they relate to NF quirks or whatever, and that was an interesting topic. So go ahead. What are your observations and thoughts about this?
I'd like to point out INTPs versus INTJs. INTPs are more awkward, and INTJs are more weird. Where we tend to balance out internally about equally, but as far as our outward appearance, we're very INTPs are very awkward, and I don't know. What would you say about that?
All right, let me expand it a little. I would say that the INTJ, well, both of you guys are weird and awkward.
Yeah. Yeah.
The difference is that the INTJ is more weird than they are awkward,
Mm-hmm.
and the INTP is more awkward than they are weird.
Yeah, that's what.
So that's what I would say. It's supposed to being like
That's
this
the same
total
thing.
extremism, right?
Well,
Just to
I was
define it
saying
better.
we both have it internally equally, but
We have
weird
both
and
those things
awkward.
in you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know about ENTPs or ENTJs.
That's a good question.
I've never met. Besides, I've met one ENTP and two ENTJs.
Well, I think ENTPs are a little weird, but they're not. They don't come across as awkward in the social environment. I've actually seen ENTPs function very well.
Yeah.
I think actually, I would say ENTPs might be the best functioning in the social environment, even over the ENTJs, because the ENTJs want what they want, and that's that. Whereas ENTPs are a little more flexible and talkative, and so maybe this is that. I don't know that ENTJs are terribly weird. I think ENTJs come off the most, at least visually, come off the most normal.
Well put together.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and they look the most. They dress a little more conservative.
INTJs, if you notice Alex dresses very well.
Sure.
He's always very well put together.
Yeah,
but
he's not wearing weird things.
No, whereas I'm wearing orange camouflage
right
now.
Right.
I'm trying to hide in a fall woods currently, even though it's spring.
Well, he wears weird, not weird things. He still comes off as weird because it's all sort of dark and Tim Burton-like.
I've never seen Charlemagne never dresses he's very bright color, wears very bright colors.
Yes, and very sort of conservative, not conservative in a really super conservative sense, but he'll wear a blue button-down shirt, normal jeans, normal shirt. It's very very plain, not bad, but you know what I mean. He's not as again, I think conservative is the right word. You know what I mean? He knows how to sort of function in the social world.
Yeah. And I'd like to talk about maybe NT humor, because we're not always gotten in that way.
Yeah, NT humor is kind of interesting. I have a lot of thoughts about this, so go ahead.
I find myself to be funny when I'm being very spontaneous and in the moment. Mm-hmm. But if I'm trying to directly make a joke, it takes me a while to actually write a joke.
Sure.
It'll take me a little while. Once in a while I'll come up. I'm good with zingers in the moment. I don't know about INTJs.
INTJs, I found INTJs to actually be very funny, but NTs invented trolling, without a doubt. Okay, yeah. NTs invented trolling, so there's something particularly trolling in the INTJ humor more than any other NTs. So it's not a sensitive humor, the NTs. It is comical though. I've had a good laugh with INTJs, things they've said, things they've done. So I think they might even have the most humor.
I think the reason I bring that up is we're accused of not being funny at all, and it's not because we're not funny. You just don't get us. I've seen memes where it's a big math equation, and then it says NT humor. You don't get us.
Yeah, I could say that. I understand that to a certain degree. All the logic jokes are probably T constructions, to a certain degree. No NF would think of that. All right, but you talked about you were slow in your coming up with a joke. So now I'm going to tell you my experience of it because I've experienced this with you. You're also slow in the delivery of the joke.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And monotone in the delivery.
Oh, we're always monotone.
Yes, I know that.
That's a hobby.
Of course it is. Well, that's your your voice box was constructed that way. But all right. What do you think about some of? All right, but now let's expand that out. What do you think of the humor? What do you think of the humor of any of the other types, if any?
SJ humor is working hard or hardly working.
Well, I would say SJ. I think that SJ humor is more laughing at somebody.
SPs are probably the most likely to be comedians.
Yes, but I would say I find that they like slapstick. And
Yeah,
they're good at
I could get
slapstick.
that.
I think they're a little more slapstick oriented.
I could get that they might be improv comics too.
Yes, but I would say in a slapstick way, in a physical sense. Like I'll bet you SPs are some of the best mimes. I bet are actually SPs.
Love that kind of humor too. Is they like slapstick kind of
Yes,
stuff.
because they're sort of reading into it because there's always an act going on, and people who do slapstick or the character who is experiencing the slapstick is kind of dumb. And so they're doing sort of dumb things like stepping on rakes and it's hitting them in the face.
Like they love Jackass. Like
yes.
my ESFJ friend, I'll refer to him as Flyboy because he's in the Air Force.
Yes.
And he loves that. And he's into writing currently. He was like an artist at one point, and now he's into writing. And most of his writing is just stories of us and a lot of slapstick humor.
Yes, I could see that.
Yeah.
My son's like that. He likes all the skateboard accident videos. He thinks that's hysterical. And Tosh.0 thinks Tosh.0.
I enjoy Tosh.0.
Yeah, I have to admit, I watch it too sometimes too. But here's the NF thing. Like sometimes there's always like one video in the show where like I cringe and I think, oh, that poor person. Or like when he does like the web redemption, it's always somebody who made an ass of themselves. Like I'm afraid someday the show's gonna call us and want to do a web redemption for NFGeeks. Awesome. Yeah, I'd do it too. I would totally go on it. So would my son. My son loves that. Yeah. I would do it. But like sometimes he does the web redemption and I'm always like, oh, these poor people. And then as he's giving them the web redemption, he's also raking them over the coals at the same time. So I'm also feeling bad about that. Like so I kind of have this love-hate with the web redemption.
I think my NT empathy kind of kicks out and I just think it's really funny because some people just kind of have it coming.
Now, see, that's a very NT thing. I don't know. NFs never think that. Even the Js aren't like that. The Js may say, this is why you did. Well, the Js will say that's why this happened, but they won't be like you deserve it. They won't be as deserving. They're a little more.
I think S's might be into that.
You're right. This is your right. My mother used to say all the time, "You've made your bed, now lie in it."
No, I meant SPs.
Oh, SPs.
She was an SJ, wasn't she?
Yes, my mother was an SJ. Well, that's what my mother used to say. As an SJ, that's a very SJ thing to say.
Oh, I thought you were saying. Oh, all right. I got all the.
You getting confused?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So, what other quirks?
I'd like to point out the INTP quirk.
Sure.
We become shut off from the external world a lot.
Okay.
And that's what it was. You and Brittany were talking about time doesn't pass properly for you. Time doesn't really.
That's a very NT judgment. What I actually said was we experience time non-linearly.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I didn't know how to word it properly. Yeah, time doesn't really pass. I get that, the whole being in one moment while being in the other. I've tried to explain that to you, and you were not listening to me, because that was the beginning of our mysticism debate.
Yes. Yes.
Like, what, 6 weeks ago or
That's
something?
Right. Yep.
And so, we get very shut off to the external world and just trapped in our minds, and, we start thinking and thinking and thinking, and it's actually a dangerous trap for.
All right. Well, that's what I want you to expand on, because what's so quirky about that? Because that's a standard INTP position to have this massive internal thought process. So, but what's wrong with that?
It can be dangerous where we can completely. I was watching a video actually yesterday about This guy was explaining INTP. I don't remember who it was. It was an older guy. The video was really good though. It was like 8 minutes long, and he did warn INTPs that we can kind of are prone to hermithood. We can kind of reject the external world and just live in our fears and our delusions sometimes because we'll get a little trapped up in like retract from the external world completely in most ways. And I think INTPs are also, besides being the brightest of all personality types, can also be prone to being the craziest of all.
What makes you say that?
Because we have this ability to go into our minds and just believe what's in our minds and be trapped in our delusions sometimes.
Okay, so let me frighten you now. Do you think then there's any sort of... Okay. Well, I'm going to. This is the trauma. Remember I used to bring everybody into the trauma when I taught psychology? Okay. Do you think then there's any connection between INTP and schizophrenia? And the reason why I say that...
That's actually something I was thinking about when I was saying it, was the whole being trapped in your own delusions. I'd be afraid that catatonia may even be the most extreme case of that.
Really? An extreme INTP. So that wouldn't it be... Well, I don't know, how could you give somebody who's catatonic the Myers-Briggs, but it would be interesting to see what relationship there was between INTP and psychotic episodes of delusions.
I can tell you that we're apparently... I haven't seen evidence of this in the real world, but on the Myers-Briggs website, apparently INTP is the highest of all the NT population.
Really?
3.3, and ENTJ is apparently the lowest. They're 1.3.
Yeah, I could see that because they probably eat each other like queen bees.
I actually have a Myers-Briggs evolutionary theory of why.
Oh, this is great.
Why the S's are the highest population.
Okay.
And why the N's are the lowest. And I don't know who's lower, the NTs or the NFs, but I want to say it's the NTs. But
sure,
I want to say the NFs.
Sure, I actually think NTs are less than NFs, but I've always read that the smallest population of all is INFJ.
Really?
Yeah, INFJ is of all of them. But ENFPs, there's a lot of ENFPs. We're actually the largest in NF. Is ENFP. So I think there's less NTs. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's less NTs than NFs, but the INFJ I think is the least likely. All right. So what? But I want to get back to schizophrenia.
Oh, schizophrenia.
Yeah.
How do you? Schizophrenia, because they. I don't know. I don't think it's possible to think yourself mad. I don't want to say it is, but out of all the.
He says frighteningly.
Yeah. Out of all the personality types, the INTP would be the most likely to think themselves mad because they're so easily, like, I will just, as I'm walking, I'll run into people by accident because I'm so caught up in whatever I'm thinking about, which we do have the most powerful minds, but we also have sometimes the most dangerous ones because we can kind of be manipulative in our own ways and not connect with humanity.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about this now because I've been talking to an INTJ that I refer to on NFGeeks as Harvester, and Harvester was sort of speculating between the relationship between INTJ and Asperger's. That somehow either Asperger's makes you into an INTJ, which was actually his theory of that's what he would make the independent variable, Asperger's, and then the dependent variable is INTJ, sort of manifest into INTJ.
I actually think that Sherlock from the new Sherlock BBC series, well, it's not new now, but he's, I think, either an INTP or an INTJ, more likely an INTJ because he's actually doing stuff. And I think he might have borderline personality disorder and Asperger's.
Ah, okay. Well, there you go. Then maybe they're writing him correctly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have, Brad.
All right.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Take it easy. Good job.
Thank you.